The sacredest thing at PayPal, certainly during my time there, was the database of credit cards and bank account credentials that was, at the time, roughly 100 million rows of what now is known as PII. The acronym wasn't made there yet, but people's financial data. Very, very, very scary to lose it. We encrypted everything. I could talk to you for an hour about how secure we were. It was my obsession, my background. Before all the current dark times began, I was in computer security. So it was all very well encrypted. The one big vulnerability, we had a master key that would decrypt the entire database, and that just bugged the shit out of me. So one day, I read this paper, strongly recommended, called Sharing Secrets Among Friends. It's a perfect way to share secrets. And so I implemented Share Secret sharing over undoubtedly 2 or 3 days of no sleep, and very proudly got everybody together to replace the one master key into what's called a sharded key, where each one of the people has a shard. That was really great. We took down the site. We decrypted with a single master key the big PayPal database. We re-encrypted it with the sharded key. We brought the site back up, and people typed in their shards, and it didn't decrypt correctly. For the next 5.5 hours, we were basically beating our heads against the wall because we were so secure. There was not a backup. So Peter would call me at like 5 a.m. like, hey, why is the site still down? And now there's a CNN running a headline saying PayPal went down last night. Nobody knows when it's going to come back. Like total pandemonium. But the long and short of it is, this will be only funny to some of you. I coded this thing on Solaris, but I ran it on Linux. Get pass on Solaris could capture up to 256 characters. On Linux, cuts it off after 8 characters. So as we try to reassemble it, it would take in the 24-character long passwords and reassemble them only the first 8 characters at a time. It was actually one of the greatest puzzles of my life. I went to my cubicle, which I remember like it was yesterday, and just stared into the black CRT for 30 minutes trying to figure out what could have possibly gone wrong. And the very next thing I did is typed in man get pass, which was the only part of this whole thing that I didn't implement myself, on both the production machine and my desktop where I coded it. It was like, oh, 8 to 56. Fuck me. And 10 minutes later, we're back up. That was.
So this was catastrophic enough. I believe you didn't tell Peter the actual story for over a decade.
So first of all, the first 5 years I told no one. And then after that, I was like, this is too good of a educational story to keep it entirely to myself. So on occasion at like YC Startup School or small groups, I would be like, all right, let me tell you the one time where I really fucked it up. And over time, I became less and less embarrassed and more interested in like telling people. Like the story here is obviously like details always matter. Like if you're going to be the CTO who writes code, like you better be at least as good at details as the people you trust to write code for you. Like the embarrassing wasn't that I had a bug, is that it took me so damn long to figure out what it was. And because I was the one who coded the thing, there was not enough people in the room who could proofread it for me or pair program with me. But 2 is how do you behave through a crisis? One of our engineers who was in the room literally screamed, we're going to have to start brute forcing this key. It'll only take a few billion years, but no problem. And so you get to watch how people behave in a moment of extreme pressure. And my proudest part of it was that I had never faced now this is a company destroying moment. Like up until that point, my company's failed in a slow motion way, like oh, we're out of money or like nobody wants my product. This was like we were a year from IPO, we had 100 million credentials. This was like a real thing. We won eBay. Everything was going our way. And I was just about to pull the pin out of the hand grenade and sort of gently put it on our collective desks. And the fact that I sort of like, the only right thing to do here is to actually think like an engineer, put out the fear of total failure, and just try to reason what could have possibly gone wrong, and maybe there's a fix.